Moving to a new place was supposed to be a clean slate for me. I was fresh off a breakup after a 7-year relationship and really needed a change of scenery. I thought I'd found the perfect property. Located in a small town in northern Maine, the house was a Victorian relic, a sprawling 2-story structure of dark wood. There were no neighbors within a 2-mile radius, and the house was sitting on 10 acres of land, completely surrounded by beautiful, luscious green forest. It was absolutely perfect, which is why I was a little shocked to see that the asking price was way below market value. During the closing, the seller was giving off just a touch of nervous energy. He wouldn't meet my eyes, and his hand shook slightly as he hastily jotted down his signature on the deed. In hindsight, he seemed almost desperate to be rid of the place, but with me being in the emotional and honestly desperate myself state that I was in at the time, I didn't really stop to question it. I'm a big nature and wilderness guy, so when I saw the gorgeous property and the way the grassy backyard dissolved into dense forest, I absolutely fell in love. The house itself needed a little work done, so I kinda chalked the lower price tag up to that. That didn't bother me though. I didn't even need to negotiate, just took a look around, confirmed the price with the guy, and didn't think twice from there. A week later, I was cruising up a desolate state highway in my Jeep Wrangler, making the trip up from my old place in the outskirts of New Jersey alongside Rocky, the adorable goofball husky that stole my heart and became the best friend I could have possibly ever asked for. I'd been through so much with that big dummy. I loved him like family. The time for a fresh start had come. New home, new city, new state. The only connection I had that lived anywhere remotely close by was my good friend Jim. He was actually the one who convinced me to move out to Maine. Jim was a good guy. I met him randomly on a camping trip once and stayed in contact ever since. He was a few years older than me and a bit old-fashioned in some ways, but he always stood by me when things were tough. And he really helped me get through the breakup. I remember camping on his property once a couple years back and just being infatuated with the incredible serenity. I just knew that wherever I decided to move to was going to need to have the same peaceful isolation. And lo and behold, not only did I find it, but my new property just so happened to only be about an hour's drive from Jim's place. We both agreed that Rocky would stay the first night or two with Jim whilst I got settled in and started unpacking, which meant I would be spending my first few nights there alone. It was dead quiet out there, completely by myself, not a soul within a 2-mile radius. The silence felt heavy, like a physical weight pressing against the windows. I spent the evening hauling and unpacking boxes, the only sound, the rhythmic thudding of my boots on the original hardwood. It was so peaceful, and I was so exhausted by the time I had finished. I don't think I've slept that well in years, but the golden glow of dawn's first light revealed the early warning shot across the bow. Out in the yard, my heavy steel trash bins had been tossed across the lawn like discarded soda cans. What the hell? I thought to myself in disbelief. The previous owner didn't mention anything about bears or moose, but I figured I couldn't rule it out as a possibility. I decided to take a walk out around the tree line to investigate. I stopped cold as it came into view. In the soft mud, right at the edge of the tree line, there were tracks, but they didn't look like tracks from any animal I'd ever seen. Deep, massive impressions that somehow seemed to defy biology. They had the general shape of a hoof, but they were huge, way bigger than any hooved animal tracks I'd seen. Weirder still, they also had sharp points on the edges that looked like it could maybe be the imprint of claws, like you'd see in a bear or big cat's footprint. But the most baffling part was the stride length. It was indicative of something that walked on 2 feet, and that must have stood at nearly 8 feet tall. I was obviously quite taken aback by the sight of this, but I figured there was probably a rational explanation behind it that I just wasn't aware of. After all, I was new to the wildlife here, and honestly, I wasn't much of an expert to begin with. Hunting was more of Jim's thing, but I did make a mental note to get him to come out and take a look at this as soon as possible. I picked up Rocky that afternoon. Usually, he's a ball of chaotic energy, but the moment he stepped out of the truck and caught the scent of the backyard, his ears went flat against his skull, and he seemed a little subdued the whole day. That night, Rocky wouldn't stop staring out the glass back door. He didn't growl or bark. He just stood there, his body lightly vibrating with a low, rhythmic tremble, even though it wasn't cold at all. Around midnight, the sounds started. It wasn't the snapping of dry sticks, but a heavy thump drag, thump drag. It sounded like something massive pulling its own weight through the undergrowth. Rocky erupted, throwing his entire weight against the glass and barking with a frantic, high-pitched desperation. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside, scanning the tree line. I stood glued to the back porch, too terrified to take even a single step toward the vast, pitch-black forest beyond me. But between the distance and the impenetrable darkness of the night, it made spotting anything beyond that tree line practically impossible. But I felt like I still had to check just in case. And just when I was about to give up and go back inside, I caught a glimpse of something reflected in the beam shining from the flashlight, clutched firmly in my grip. For just a split second, I saw them, 2 small amber orbs, like an animal's eyes caught in a camera's flash. They were only there for a brief moment before they vanished silently into the brush. There was definitely something out there, but whatever it was way too big and menacing for me to feel comfortable confronting it without a firearm, of which I had none. I decided it was best if Rocky and I just stayed put and tried to ignore it for now. Then I'd get Jim to come out later that week, and we could hunt that thing down, whatever it was. But I just could not get Rocky to calm down. He was completely hysterical. I've never seen him like that in my life. I eventually ended up having to feed him some sleeping medication just to make it through the night. By the time the whole ordeal was over, it was almost 3 a.m., and I was exhausted. I knocked the hell out and didn't wake up until 12 hours later. When I finally got up and stumbled out of bed, I made my way down the stairs to find Rocky sitting right in front of the back door, staring intently out into the backyard and whining slightly. It wasn't the same chaotic distress from last night, but rather a quiet, anxious cry. And it didn't take long to figure out what it was about. Peeking through the back door's glass pane, it felt like my heart dropped straight into my stomach as my eyes settled upon my backyard fountain, a 300-pound solid granite basin, snapped at its base like a twig and flipped over. It hadn't just fallen, it had been uprooted. What on God's green earth could have possibly done that? I questioned in complete and utter shock. I opened the back door, and sure enough, Those massive, irregular tracks came right into view as Rocky and I got closer to the fountain. We started following the trail, which predictably led us into the dense forest at the edge of the property. I hesitated as we approached the tree line, not sure if we should go any further, but ultimately decided that with no sign of whatever this thing was anywhere around, and considering it only seemed to come out at night, it was probably safe to investigate a bit further. We set off, following the trail through the undergrowth, until eventually arriving at a clearing about 50 yards past the tree line. We knew immediately that something was off as the smell hit us, a cloying mix of blood, musk, and rot. The image of what came next is forever burned into my memory like a brand. There, lying in a heap directly in the center of the clearing, was a dead buck. Its body was so twisted and mangled, it took me a second to even realize what kind of animal it was. It hadn't been eaten. It had been desecrated. Its rib cage was pulled open like a book, and its internal organs had been draped over the low branches of the surrounding trees. This wasn't a meal, it was a display. Terrified, I called Jim. I didn't know what else to do. He thought I was messing with him at first, and it wasn't until he heard the shaky desperation in my voice that he finally took me seriously and agreed to come take a look. After getting here and seeing the buck, all the color drained from Jim's face as he turned to me and said,
"Jay, I don't know what we're dealing with here, brother, but let me tell you that in the 20 years I've been hunting, I ain't never seen nothing like this."
"So what are we gonna do?" I asked.
"I'm gonna get my Remington and my Mossberg, and we're gonna hunt that son of a bitch down. That's what we're gonna do."
So that's what we did. Evening was just settling in as we set about following the tracks deep into the heart of the woods behind the property. The tracks didn't make any sense up close. One set would look almost like something on four legs, deep, uneven gouges in the mud, and then 10 or 15 feet later, they'd straighten out into long, deliberate bipedal strides, like something had just decided to stand up and start walking. And the distance between them, whatever was making these things, wasn't just big, it was covering ground. 20 feet between impressions in some places, like it had stepped clean over fallen logs without even noticing them. We'd made it a few hundred yards past the clearing when Rocky suddenly froze. No growl, no bark. He just locked up, ears forward, body stiff, and then let out this short, strangled yelp like something had stepped on him. Then he took off, running faster than I've ever seen him move in my life. "Rocky," I shouted to no avail. He disappeared into the underbrush so fast it was like the woods swallowed him whole. We could hear him crashing through it for maybe 5 seconds, branches snapping, leaves thrashing, and then nothing. We spent the next hour calling for him, shouting until our voices gave out, pushing through brush so thick it tore at our clothes. But the forest had gone completely silent. No movement, no owls hooting, no crickets, just the ominous whistle of the wind moving through the pines. I started to get this feeling like something was waiting for us right around the corner. Something bad, something evil. I can't even describe it. I have no idea how I knew. I just knew that if we kept stomping through the brush and shouting at the top of our lungs, things were going to go south very quickly. I stopped. "Jim, I think we should head back." "We'll start looking again tomorrow," I whispered.
"Yeah, I think so too,"
came Jim's response, his voice betraying how rattled he was as he spoke. I silently wondered if he sensed the same thing I did, but at this point I was too focused on getting back as quickly as possible to ask. After about a 30-minute hike that felt like an eternity, we finally made it back to my place and just crashed completely. Between the stress, the physical exertion, and the adrenaline brought about by the day's events, I don't think I've ever felt more exhausted in my life. As I shut my eyes and prepared to get some much-needed rest, I promised myself we were going to find Rocky first thing in the morning, which is exactly what happened. Except not in the way I meant. I didn't even make it halfway to the back door before freezing. There he was, on the porch, placed there, not thrown, not dragged up the steps, placed, like someone had taken the time to set him down carefully, facing the glass of the back door he'd spent the entire night trying to protect just a few days prior. I'm getting sick just writing this and picturing the sight of his body, or what was left of it anyways. It made the dead buck look tame. It wasn't random. It wasn't the way an animal kills for food. It looked deliberate. It felt like a message. The logical part of me wanted to call the cops, but we didn't. I know that probably sounds insane, but I honestly doubt there was much they could have done. And at that point, grief had already started to curdle into something darker, white-hot rage. "Let's go get that fucker," I said to Jim with a steely resolve. We spent the next few hours investigating and trying to figure out what our best approach would be. Jim was the one who noticed it first. The way the tracks overlapped in the mud behind the house. They weren't random. They doubled back on themselves, reappeared along the same tree lines.
"It's not wandering through,"
he said quietly.
"It's circling."
We eventually came across a section of the woods that dipped into two shallow hollows to the north and west of the house. Both of them offered heavy cover all the way up to the tree line, low ground, thick brush, plenty of fallen timber. If something wanted to approach the house without being seen from the yard, those were the only two routes it could take. Game trails, basically. Except nothing that used those trails had any right to be big enough to tip over a 300-pound granite fountain or leave what was left of Rocky on my porch. By the time the sun started to dip, we had a plan. We dragged what remained of the dead buck from the other day back through the woods and split it between the two hollows, not out in the open, tucked just inside the brush where something moving through would have to commit before seeing it. Jim went back to his truck and came out with two heavy foothold traps, the kind you'd use for bears. Each one was all steel, wide jaws with serrated edges, and a pressure plate in the center attached to a length of chain thick enough to tow a car. We bedded them into the earth a few feet out from the bait, packing the soil down tight around the frame so they wouldn't rock under weight. Then we staked the chains into the roots of nearby trees and sprayed the whole area down with scent killer until my eyes started watering from the chemical smell.
"If it steps wrong,"
Jim muttered, pressing the last of the brush into place with his boot.
"it ain't going far."
We took up positions just as night started setting in, Jim manning the hollow to the north while I watched over the hollow to the west, each with a gun and a walkie-talkie to stay in contact. We each posted up downwind, about 30 yards out, with a clear line of sight to the bait pile and the trap bedded in front of it. We kept the lights off and the walkie-talkies low, just enough volume to hear over the wind. And then we waited. The woods were dead quiet for over an hour, eerily quiet. I started getting that feeling again, the same one I got last night, just before giving up on finding Rocky and going back to get some rest. But I pushed it down this time, not allowing myself to feel anything other than the seething anger still boiling in my chest. When this thing showed up, I would be ready. Except it didn't show up. What felt like an eternity went by with absolutely no sign of the damn thing. Then, just as I was starting to think that maybe it wasn't coming back, the radio at my hip crackled to life.
Jay?
Jim's voice came through low and tight, sounding distressed.
I see it.
My stomach dropped. See what? A long pause.
Jesus Christ, it's huge.
Static crackled.
What the hell is that?
Another pause. Then,
Wait a second. It's going for the bait.
the metallic clang of the trap being set off, followed immediately by the gunshot, came so suddenly it made me flinch. I heard both noises in real time as they rang out through the night sky and crackled through the radio all in the same instant. Then Jim again, louder this time.
Got him. Right between the eyes.
Yes, I shouted, my voice beaming with triumph. Before
Wait.
the word came out thin. What? What is it, Jim?
He's getting back up.
It took me a second to process what Jim had just said. What? What do you mean he's getting back up? Didn't you say you got him right between the eyes? Silence, and then 4 more gunshots sounded identical to the first, then nothing. My heart felt like it stopped dead as I waited, anxious anticipation coursing through me. Jim, I finally asked tentatively, after waiting for what felt like forever. For a moment, there was no response until the radio picked up Jim screaming a second later, not yelling, not shouting, screaming in a way I have never heard another human being scream before or since, and then the line went dead. "Jim," I exclaimed, before taking off in the direction of the northern hollow. I barely remember running over there. I just remember the clearing. Empty, no sign of anything, except one pine tree right in the middle of the moonlight. And Jim, pinned 10 feet off the ground, impaled on a jagged broken branch. His body had been lifted and driven straight down onto it. It looked like he had been used to create some kind of demonic sacrificial shrine. He was facing the house. His limbs had been torn off and were scattered around the clearing, along with his intestines, teeth, a part of his spine, and even one of his eyeballs. I didn't get closer. I ran. Back through the trees, across the yard, up the steps, slamming the door behind me, latching the deadbolt, and dragging the oak dresser across the floor until it wedged under the handle. I've been locked in here for about an hour now, and I'm writing this because I have no idea what to do. I keep thinking about getting in the car, just making a run for it, but that awful feeling in the pit of my stomach is telling me that it's out there, waiting for me, that the second I step outside, It's going to do the same thing to me that it did to Jim. Or maybe worse. I'm terrified out of my mind. And the worst part is that just a few minutes ago, I started hearing it again. That sound. Thump, drag, thump, drag. Getting closer and closer each time. How long till it finds out it can get in here? How long till it comes for me? I don't know, but it's out there. And if it decides to hunt me down, I don't think I'm making it to tomorrow.